holy cow, it's 2024. We have a lot we can talk about, but my mind is blown this morning by this Rabbit R1.
I saw the link. I watched it.
Did you watch the keynote?
Yeah, the whole.
Is it not exactly what we've spoken about before?
But the one thing I've got is, it's probably not going to be as groundbreaking. It's not going to replace laptops or anything like that. But it is one step closer to Star Trek style stuff, right? Which I love. But I always wondered why they don't have proper laptops and things in Star Trek. But
Because you don't need to. You've got this voice you can speak to. Why would you want an app and all this stuff to look up and search? Like search is ridiculous. That whole interface, and I had this debate with you, Pat. I think the whole visual. I think we landed up in a good medium. I'm not sure middle ground.
This is re prompted me for some things of why I don't, with some issues I have with this interface. But yeah, I can see why it's compelling. But I've never really been I've never really been like wow when I see like a Star Trek style thing. I've never really gone, oh, I want that. So
Okay, so just for context for everyone, go check out the Rabbit R1 product. It's like a handheld, slightly square looking phone thing.
kind of retro but kind of modern.
Retro modern. It's got a camera. It's got a screen, or that's a fairly smallish screen, and it's got a scroll bar, just goes up and down, and a button to push to talk. So you don't need to say, hey Google, hey Siri. You just push the button and talk into it. Presumably, like I'd pair that with the bone conduction earphones, so you can just sort of be hearing its audio response all the time without others hearing the response. And they're selling this thing. They launched it today. I think it ships in March or April. I think for $199, amazing price. It's going to be a phenomenal device if it comes true. But the interface is dramatically different. There are no apps. There's none of the classical stuff you're used to with a phone. It is simply talk to the device, and it will talk back, or sometimes give you some visuals on the screen.
And the visuals are really compelling, I thought.
Yeah. What do you think the deficiencies are, Pat? Like what do you like this is sort of what we talked about before. What are the challenges with this mode?
It's not deficient. Like I think this stuff should be made. That my concern, two main concerns are one, like monopolies. So if I search for hotels or search for flights or whatever, if it's sort of suggesting like this one integration, this one company that it's chosen to integrate with, because the whole sort of thing experience is removing friction. I don't want to go step by step by step, click UI buttons. I just want to ask for something and have it go, bing, it's already here.
Yeah, I don't want to choose between 10 different airlines. I just want to pick for me.
Yeah, so my concern there is, well, if you don't have that choice, then you're just putting all the power into the someone. Someone you have to choose someone. So does that someone become a monopoly?
the AI around that should be able to go. I just want to fly with Qantas, you know, or Alaska Airlines, or one of those sorts of things, or give me the cheapest. So whatever your criteria is, it should cater for that.
It could simply ask you, yeah, which airline do you want to fly with? Do you care?
But those demos aren't showing that. So then that starts to water down the whole experience being so slick, where it's having to ask you, "Hey, did you care about price? Hey, did you care about this?" And sure, like you could learn that over time, but that's not what's being shown in this sort of pitch.
I think that's a very valid concern, Pat, because my suspicion is if it's only $199, how else are they making money, and are they connecting to only one airline to and getting some sort of kickback?
Doing some sort of deal. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because yeah, it's like the iPhone did partner with AT&T, and so they both sort of compromised to because normally mobile phone providers want to put all their stickers and install default apps and do all this like sort of crap to gunk up the interface, but they're all sort of willing to take take that on the chin to get that exclusive deal. So the other concern is probably more like philosophical, is more like I see this stuff as like a bit of a consensus machine. And so if I ask a particular fact about history or anything, it's sort of having to come up with a consensus. So you just, oh, okay, who won World War Two, or some whatever question you have, who's wrong about the Gaza Strip or whatever it is, it has to come up with some answer, and there's no nuance there. There's no back and forth. It's this very like, I'm asking someone and it's come up with the answer, and I go, oh yes, that's the answer.
And what you miss out is the here are the all the people arguing one side, here are the people arguing the other side, here's all the outstanding questions, here's all the ambiguity, here's that's right, which you would see if you type that into Google, you'd see all that.
I think Google is actually the perfect analog for what's right and wrong and all the hurdles it's going to have. I don't think it's actually like I think it's easy to pick out on the bad things on the first product run, right? But but the concept is, will it find a place? It probably will, right? And if not, it'll inspire that in other bigger platforms. But like what Google does is the same thing, right? You type in your search, you know, who won particular war, and then you're going to get a set of results of which people click on the first one or two, and it's got its little summaries at times, and you go, it's the same deal, right? The only difference is speaking to you.
But but that got games. Like SEO is just noise and just crap, and people try to game the system. And you saw, as you saw during COVID, or just more recently, governments and stuff try to get, hey, you can't spread misinformation, and you're being a real-time historian, and you're going, this is misinformation, this is not, and here's this, maybe almost here's the consensus view, and you're doing that like in real time almost, and that I think is sort of, there's a trade-off to doing that. Sure, I might agree with some of that sense what they decide to do some of the time, but there's a risk there.
And I think what they demonstrated was actually quite good. Was it's focused more on the action side of things, of doing things, right? So if it's like like ordering the Uber was the example, or and changing it to suit their circumstances. Good use case, right? And actually, rather than just trying to predict information like regular, LLMs are trying to do, but actually tack on that actual actions and those sort of things. It's a good paradigm to sort of focus on and get a bit further ahead on. I kind of like that.
And there's consensus machines that already work. Like a classic example of a consensus, I'm just coming up with this term, um, is Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a consensus machine. You literally go to an article on the Gaza Strip or whatever, and you can go to the discussion area, and there'll be like this flame war, blah, 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 all this back and forth of what this particular sentence is going to be, and so on. But then you come to this consensus with the, here's the introduction paragraph, here's the topics that we're going to talk about, here's the controversies. But if you try and, so that can work, I think, but it sort of requires that community aspect, maybe, or I don't know. But also this AI thing is trying to boil that down, a Wikipedia article, to like one sentence. And it's like, well, then yeah, that nuance is going to sort of start to get lost, I think.
Yeah, I think those two concerns you raised are absolutely valid. The consensus machine is a concern. The monopolistic tendencies or path it could go down are very much a concern. I was just mostly captivated by, put all that aside. You could almost take the LLM out of it. I was just captivated by the simplicity of the design and the medium of communication. I just love that. I think the future of us talking to machines is going to be literally that, us talking to the machine and hearing the machine in our ears without others hearing it, like we already have the tech to do, and occasionally seeing a display on some panel of something that requires a display to show a table or some chart or something.
Yeah, the interface dissolves, and then it's, you talk to the computer literally, and then the computer talks to you literally. We don't have the sort of stuff in the middle like UIs and even direct manipulation of touchscreens.
Now, my hot pick, and I don't know if this is what they've done. I suspect it's not. I mean, they claim that their AI responds a lot faster. I think that's just the path of the development that these LLMs are taking. They're all going to just be faster and better over time. But did they package the entire thing to ship on the device and execute on device? They could have done that. The tech's nearly there to do that. In fact, it is there to do that. They may have done it, or they may have left it centralized somewhere in the cloud. What my hot pick is that in the future, at some point, whenever we cross that threshold, we will all have our own one that will run on our own device, and it will not be a centralized thing. It's just, there's too much opportunity for individual actors uh, to basically get their AI to have the nuance and preferences that they care about, rather than the general central take on the world.
Shouldn't this be open source then? Like this thing's trying to be a platform. Like it's trying to be. It you could literally see the keynote was very Apple and like modern keynote style. Like shouldn't does it should it be open source to be more like that, or you just think there'll be lots of competition? There'll be Yeti AI, Rabbit AI, Dog AI. Like there'll be all these competitors, and
Should it be or shouldn't be is a difficult one. I think philosophically, I think open will win in the long term over closed. Um, so whether it starts out that way or not, I can't tell you, but it would be great if it was open. But I think long term, open will win. But there will be, uh, I think we will all be running our own Rabbit, in our pocket rather than separate ones, and I think they will be independent. Closer to that movie Her. I don't know if you saw that from a few years ago,
Mhm.
where maybe they all started at the same place. They all started off the base model, but then they got trained or taught differently by our preferences and our data.
The fact that the guy had a strong Asian accent and it understood him. Everything that I've ever used doesn't understand a word I say. Right? Like Siri is the most useless feature. Like just rip it out totally for me because it doesn't understand a word I say.
oh, Siri's horrendous. But I like the little character. I like the little rabbit, and I'm pretty sure like its ears perked up when I was listening, and like it had a bit of personality. I thought that was really well done.
Reminded me of Playdate. I don't know if you guys remember, like analogy things, right? Like scroll wheels, almost like a fidget spinner. Um, yeah, those things are actually really useful. Like it's hard to reinvent certain things that are just pristine and perfect. Like a volume knob is just perfectly designed.
That's right. I mean, the design was just really, really practical. Just scroll up and down. This thing, just scroll up and down. Yeah, you don't need to say, hey Siri, just push the button because you're going to talk to it. You've got it in your hand. Push the button.
Will you? Because will you carry? I've seen some people ask, will you carry this and a phone? I don't know. Yeah.
I would imagine if it was me, no, I would want this to be my phone as well. And I haven't obviously seen it in person yet, but it would have to be good enough to also be my phone.
Would you be willing to remove some of the complexity of your phone? Like if this stuff added some phone features but couldn't do everything an Android phone could do, would you be
They didn't demo it today, but if this thing also let me review my email and my calendar, and send messages and whatever, I would literally replace my phone with this.
even if it could not install like Play Store apps?
100%.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm sort of ready for something.
Never replace my phone because I don't use it for those things, right? I use it for browsing the internet, right? And that's a visual medium, right? One of my primary senses is hopefully being able to see if I remember my glasses, right? And watching YouTube, watching Netflix, those sorts of things. It can't do that sort of stuff for you, right? It's a doing thing, right? It's good for actions and doing stuff. That part it can replace off my phone, but I don't use that a lot on my phone anyway.
I mean, maybe this generation, I'm not sure what the screen's like, but I imagine it absolutely could show me a YouTube video or.
And and surely you'd just be able to ask it, "Hey, can you pirate this video that's on Netflix?" and it'll just download the torrent for you.
I like my Netflix, man. I like a big screen. I'm one of the rare people who still uses a TV.
What?
My God, my kids never use the TV.
I don't think my kids know what free to air TV is.
The funniest thing that ever happened was seeing my son come home, right? He's like 16, sits down and asks to be shown how to use the TV. I probably haven't told you, Patrick, but my kids once found a Walkman in my drawer, right? And he spent ages. He goes, "I need these sort of batteries." I go, yeah. And so he sat down as a activity to work it out, and he did. But he came in. He goes, "I got it working, but it's kind of broken." I try to skip to the next track, and it only goes like a little bit because he hadn't worked out how fast forward and rewind worked with tapes.
Oh,
Why would they invent that? This is the stupidest thing ever.